Tonight on News 5 Live, senators discuss the public officer salary cuts. Michael Perfy gives his views on the Faber leadership struggle, and the DPP submits reason for objecting to bail for Jasmine Hartin. These stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction, inclusive of all some conditions apply.
With the touch of a finger, we can easily unlock our phones and securely gain access to our data. This technology is called biometrics, and the Social Security Board is introducing fingerprint recognition to make transactions and handling of your sensitive data secure, fast, accurate, and convenient. Is your identity safe? Fingerprint recognition will keep your Social Security record secure and confidential while making your access fast and easy. It protects your identity. Is your name a common one? Fingerprint recognition uses your unique characteristics, ensuring your hard-earned benefits go directly to you, the rightful owner. Tired of all the paperwork? Fingerprinting makes this hassle-free. Your convenience and your information security is our priority. Fingerprint recognition coming soon. Social Security at your fingertips.
Introducing Edam A cheese, the A+ Dutch cheese to hit the Belizean market. As the name says, it is of A-class quality. the best Dutch cheese in Belize. Edam A cheese is creamier, less salty, and simply more delicious. Don't be left out. Get your A cheese at a supermarket near you. A cheese, exclusively distributed by Unitex Company Limited. Call us at 610-3626 or 610-8910. Follow us on Facebook at Unitex Belize.
Want to leave a lasting impact when you travel? Then travel locally. Make memories to treasure for a lifetime while making a difference. Make protected areas your next travel destination. With over 25 protected areas under the APAMO umbrella, the possibilities for adventure and education are endless. You can bond with friends and family while trekking through the jungles to discover natural pools and breathtaking views. Or take that snorkeling trip to the magnificent world of coral gardens and marine life. Then camp under the stars to end off that perfect day in nature. By visiting protected areas, you are helping to preserve valuable plant and animal life. You're building local communities and you're keeping our natural and cultural heritage alive. You have that power. Travel locally and make an impact. We invite you to visit a protected area near you and discover the beauty of Belize's wild places. APAMO, the voice of Belize's protected areas.
This newscast is brought to you by the Belize Bank Limited. Our country, your bank.
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Friday, June 4th. I am Brighton Codd. The Public Sector Emoluments and Allowances Reduction Bill 2021 went before the Senate today. You'll recall that last week, Friday, Cabinet began the motions to make the cuts effective on June 1st. UDP Senator Michael Perfeet and Senator for the Unions Elena Smith strongly opposed the bill.
Madam President, how can I support a bill that cuts my pay? I see the National Assembly, we already have a massive monthly salary of $900, and it's going to be slashed, Madam President. I cannot in good spirit, with the hard work that we put in and my fellow senators, agree to such a bill. The United Democratic Party does not accept that we need to cut people's pay. Don't think that that is in the best interest of the economy at this time. We believe that the Taiwanese have pledged, according to the Prime Minister, over $80 million to help with budgetary expenses, which is the same amount of money that the government wants to cut. And I understand that, not going to re-debate it or re-litigate it. How do you tell people who have been in the system a long time ago, and now you're adding Court of Appeal judges who will come with vehicles, with salaries, with offices, with secretaries? When you take out a piece of legislation and you cut everybody specifically except the magistrates and the judges, I have to say, the magistrates and the judges themselves will tell you that they're assisted to a large extent by these very same people. So you're cutting people's pay and asking them to do more work.
Madam President, if it were that we were in such bad state, then we would not see the type of hirings that we are seeing, the type of spending that we are seeing. And it is unfair to expect us, the persons who are going to be most affected by this cut. Because yes, you can say, well, the ministers are getting a cut too, and we are being cut by 15%, and you are only getting 10%. But as we said before, 10% of my salary means a whole lot because I have no other means of income, no other allowance that I can fall back on. So it means that my family will be in a worse position than a person who is able to fall back on some allowances.
Wrapping up the discussions on the bill, Government Business Senator Eamon Courtney said he took no joy in being a part of implementing the legal framework for the act to come into force. He said it really was a matter of choosing the lesser of the evils.
Absolutely no one in this Senate today, on either side and the social partners, take any joy in passing this piece of legislation. And so I say to all the senators, don't come here pretending that any one of you are more concerned than any one of us. We don't enjoy this. We take no pleasure in doing this. And do not for a second believe that we are insensitive. Do not for a second believe that we are not fully aware of the pain that it causes. But there is a reality. The Honorable John Briceño and his government was elected to fix a problem. I repeat what the Financial Secretary said when asked how long will it take for us to go over the cliff. He said we are already over. I repeat what I said. The IMF is demanding and proposing I repeat, retrenchment, tax increase, devaluation. If senators believe that this is a bukut, then they can choose an IMF disaster. We have chosen, Senator Salas is right, this is an evil. We have chosen the lesser of some evils.
Another matter that went before the Senate today is the Commerce Bight Port. Government's Business Senator Eamon Courtney opened by sharing that the port was leased for a sum of $5 million to Recological Systems Limited 2 days before the general elections. Courtney contends that then Minister Edmund Castro shouldn't have awarded that lease because it wasn't tabled before the National Assembly, which had dissolved by that date. But UDP's lead senator fired back to say that Castro was well within his rights.
Whereas the minister leased the said port for 25 years for the sum of $5,000 upon grant, an annual sum equivalent to 1% of the gross revenue of the port during the preceding financial year. And whereas Recological has had no history of owning or managing any ports in Belize or elsewhere. And whereas the said port has been valued for a current value of $3,750,000 and having an annual rental value of $300,000. And whereas the Finance and Audit Reform Act prohibits the disposal of assets, which includes the leasing of public assets in excess of $2 million without obtaining the approval of the National Assembly within 1 month of its execution. And whereas the former minister could not have placed a motion for the approval of the leasing of the port to Recological for the approval of the National Assembly, with the National Assembly having been dissolved on the 6th of October 2020.
With this motion, the government seems to want to indicate to the public that this was something done in secret, under the cover of darkness, behind some closed, smoke-filled room. That is not the case, Madam President. Let me say first of all, under the Constitution of this country, when the National Assembly is dissolved, the Constitution makes it very clear that the executive continues its business. So even after you have a dissolution of Parliament. The Prime Minister continues to be the Prime Minister. The Minister of Ports continues to be the Prime Minister until there is an election and there is a swearing in of a new Prime Minister. So there is absolutely nothing wrong or strange with Minister Castro signing a port license for ecological. Secondly, the Commerce Bight Port and the opening of that port came to Cabinet. It was a 2-year discussion surrounding this matter. And it was part of, yes, a campaign promise to the people of Ladyville that the Commerce Bight Port would be open. From the Interpretation Act to the Finance and Audit Act, I cannot find, and I willingly concede to you if you could find something to show me that clearly leasing land or a sublease from a government to a statutory body to another person can be considered to be disposal of that asset. Hasn't been disposed, Madam President. The land for which this proposed port would sit has been leased by the government of Belize to the Port Authority since about 2002. If you don't like the lease or the license or whatever, well, then just cancel it. Just cancel it. Why do you need to come to the National Assembly to do this? It doesn't pass the threshold of the need to come under the Finance and Audit Act at all. So I would say it has no standing to be here.
The Social Partners Senators also weighed in on the Commerce Bight Port. They asserted that the matter may end up in the courts and that should the lease be cancelled, the people of the South may also lose out on job opportunities and an injection into the economy. Here are Senators Sala, Smith, Herrera, and Bengushe on the matter.
We are of the position that we cannot support the approval of the disposition of the Commerce Bight Port. I must say, though, that it seems to us that this matter might very well find itself in the courts. And I ask now, and I hope to get a response as to how solid a case the government has. Both sides seem to think that they have a solid case. In our minds, right, Madam President and colleagues, while the lease cannot be transferred or assigned, the ownership of the company, the shares, can be sold in their entirety. And it begs the question about the possibility of speculation happening where for very little investment, a very hefty profit can be made by selling the assets of that company up to in their entirety. So these raise a lot of red flags in our mind, in our minds, and makes it difficult for us to support the disposition. But we also recognize the importance of that port and the benefit that it can bring for the Dangriga and surrounding communities. So we also would like to ask, what are government plans as far as the future of that port? What serious steps does government intend to take to reactivate that facility that has so much importance for the economic growth of that area?
We believe that it is very important, it's critical that there is resolution to this matter. Now, it seems to be that we're at a place where this will end up being not a win-win, but a lose-lose situation. For the very fact that we have the people in the area who have lost jobs who won't have their jobs anymore, but as I said just now, the matter of litigation as well. And so from our end then, we are hoping that maybe the parties can come to the table and maybe can have some kind of discussion, negotiations on this matter to try to resolve this matter as best as they can so that we don't end up in the courts.
If it was required to be brought to the National Assembly, it could not have been the investors' responsibility to bring it to the National Assembly. That would have had to be the administration's responsibility. And so, in my view, if the contract is cancelled, and it doesn't, I believe that there will be significant litigation risk, and it's quite likely, extremely likely, that the company will sue.
While there might be some wrangling about the lease agreement, I must confess, as Sister Elena pointed out, that jobs are at stake. And at this time, especially in Dangriga, in the Stank Creek district, jobs become extremely, extremely important.
And to wrap up the matter, Senator Eamon Courtney maintained that former Minister Castro didn't have power to push that lease through. Courtney also responded to the concerns of employment and litigation risk that other senators raised.
Minister Castro, as he was, did not have power under the National Lands Act to enter into this transaction. But I want to say to colleagues in this Senate, and let me be brief on this point, because everybody says going to court, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of legal arguments. But Senator Perfit, who I believe passed land law, I think he passed it. Well, hold on.
Stick to the debate.
One of the things you learn, I think, like in your first month or second month, and Senator Pitts will help him on this, in land law, is that a lease is called an estate in land. It creates an interest in land for, calm yourself down, relax yourself.
As if we please, thank you.
Just relax, relax, calm down. Take a little chill pill, patience. It creates an interest in land. It gives exclusive possession to the tenant. It transfers an interest from the landowner for the period of the lease to exclusively to the tenant. Don't say yes, because that's a disposal. I will tell you this, Madam President. I will tell you this. Be quiet, man.
Senator, if we can please comply with standing order.
I listen to you in blissful silence. Behave yourself. I say this, and I'm serious about this. Minister Castro, after the National Assembly had been dissolved, entered into this lease 2 days before the general election. And most importantly, in response to Bishop and to Senator Smith, how much people will be employed? How much Belizeans will be employed? Where is that? Caribbean Court of Justice, in a different context, has spoken to the power of government after Parliament have been dissolved. It is called a caretaker government. You continue the day-to-day, ordinary affairs of the government. You do not, in a smoke-filled room, you do not, without public disclosure, as I said on the last occasion, if this was so good for the Belizean people, 2 days before the election, why didn't they have it all over the place and boast to the people of Stank Creek that this is what we got for you? So great, so good. No, it was done in secret. It was done in the quiet of night. It was done without public knowledge. It was done by a minister who did not have the power to do it. It was done after the National Assembly had been dissolved. And it was done 2 days before the United Democratic Party well knew that they were going to be voted out of office, and so they hurried signed this, hoping to bind the incoming administration.
The leader of the opposition, Patrick Farber, had to issue a public apology last week when a video leaked of a domestic dispute he had with the mother of his daughter. Since then, two of his colleagues, Shine Barrow and Tracy Panton, have made public statements to condemn the domestic issue. And then there was a document circulating purportedly from members of the UDP, including former era reps and standard bearers, who wanted Farber gone because he had supposedly lost the trust of the people. In response, the UDP issued a release to say that Farber remains the leader of the party. Today, UDP Chairman Michael Perfit spoke with reporters about the issue and the party meeting.
I haven't asked them what their position is, and I think a couple of them have expressed something publicly, and I think they have spoken for themselves.
Sir, that specific meeting, what was the purpose of that meeting that you guys had?
No, that's an internal party matter. I can't tell you that. We clearly, I'll give you two guesses to tell you what formed the main part of that meeting, but we held discussions and we will have more discussions, so I don't want to preempt.
Sir, was that matter with Mr. Farber discussed?
I think it would be difficult for you to assume that that matter was not discussed, but like I said, that's an internal party matter, and when and if we have something further to say on it, then we will.
Sir, are you concerned as chairman of the party that this is out there?
I am concerned about what it's doing to the society and to the party itself. No doubt about that. I think the party leader has said that. As far as domestic violence, I mean, how can anybody be for domestic violence? I've yet to meet anybody who is for it. I certainly...
But you have neither condemned it publicly.
Listen to me. I don't need to condemn it like that. The party leader has publicly said that what he did was not an example that a party leader should set. I don't need to. I mean, do you really need to say that what you saw in the video was something you would prefer not to see or not happen? What is important to note, though, to be fair, I mean, it's bad enough. Don't make it worse than it is. He didn't hit anybody. He didn't touch anybody. He took out his frustration against the wall, which is something that you would prefer to do rather than do it on a person. So he didn't hit anybody. Let's be fair. The public and the media has not been fair. And so we have to understand that nobody was injured. However, that doesn't mean that what he did was correct. It was wrong. He should not have done that. He should not have let his emotions get the better of him in that situation.
On the contents of the letter and group behind it, Perfit says he gave no credence to the letter and could have been created by anyone who wanted to make mischief. Chairman Perfit also said that there is no report made against Farber or any member of the party, and if there is to be a report, he would take a strong stance against it. He told us today there was a protection order application made, that is, against the leader of the opposition, but the mother of his child withdrew it. Here's how he explains it.
I'll give you an example what the public may not know. There was a protection order application against Mr. Farber prior to the incident that we saw on the video, you know. Subsequent to that, Mr. Farber and the mother of his child went to court after that incident became public, you know. And she withdrew the protection order request, which means clearly she doesn't feel like she's in danger personally. Doesn't justify what he did, but I'm just trying to tell you, when you talk about allegations, nobody has brought specific allegations to the police, or nobody has brought any allegations to me in terms of them being abused by any of those members that you're saying. If they were to bring them to me, and if it were demonstrated that anybody was physically hit or physically touched, then I will tell you right away, he needs to resign. charges need to be brought up and he needs to go to jail. But that is not what happened.
On June 1st, the Ministry of Finance issued a press release to say that government was seeking to extend the time of consent solicitation to Friday, June 11th in order to make a bond coupon payment on October 19th. Today, Senator Michael Purfeet told the media that it isn't unreasonable for GOB to ask for an extension, but he wonders what government is doing during that grace period in order to make good on their request. Purfeet also noted that the opposition members have not been invited to help with the Superbond, although they have offered to help.
It's not unreasonable to ask for an extension if you believe that you need the time. The question is, what changes could you possibly see happening in such a short period of time? Remember, when we defaulted on May 20th, it was kind of like a soft default. You have 30 days before it becomes an official default. But still, your ratings already begin to fall. When it's early like this, and everybody, you're far apart, and you're trying to feel out each other, this is a new government compared to the last one, then you have a lot of tense moments between the bondholders and the government. And so this will go on for a while, I think. I know the Prime Minister had indicated in his budget speech that by May, this process will be wrapped up. But I think, you know, he's a rookie in these matters, and he couldn't appreciate what it takes to restructure a bond. But I don't think that it's unreasonable to ask for an extension. If you need the time, ask for it. My question is, what do you do during that time? And let me say, because people have been asking me about this, I have offered to help the government. I know a lot of the players on the bondholder side, on the other side, and I had offered to kind of be like a bridge between the two sides so that I can familiarize the government with the players and the players with the government, and the government has flatly rejected that. So I just want the public to know, and I hope you play this on newscast, that this current process that's going on right here, the United Democratic Party has not been asked to be a part of it.
Coming up, the latest on the Jasmine Harton case and charges filed against 2 employees of Serrano's bus line. Stay with us.
Hello, friends. This is Dr. Bob Roberts with another 60-second sermon from God's Word. The Bible says, "But seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." Evangeline Booth was a granddaughter of William Booth, founder of the Salvation Army. She lived with her grandfather in the slums of London and often existed with the bare necessities of life. Sometimes the only food they had was that thrown at them during their gospel street meetings. Once, after returning from a visit in the home of a wealthy friend, she asked, "Grandpa, why don't we have things like other people?" "Things, dear? What do you mean?" asked her grandfather. She told him how nicely her friends were living, what fine clothes they wore, and what fine food they ate. He said, "Child, all my life I have given things little place in my life. I've given others a bigger place in my life, but above all, I've given God the big place in my life." Part of our journey in life is to learn values. Things that will destroy our home, transform us into thieves, land us into prison, destroy our health, and rob us of peace with God must be recognized and rejected. The really good things and big things of life are inside of us and not outside of us. They are things not seen but unseen, things that are above, things that bring peace and prosperity, and things that must be pursued. Jesus said, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." This, my friend, is a real truth about things. Today's 60-second sermon has been presented by Christian Foundations of Faith in cooperation with the Baptist churches in your area.
DG and the National Bank of Belize are proud to partner with the Government of Belize to facilitate the disbursement of Belize COVID-19 cash transfer funds via our safe and easy-to-use mobile pays platform. After getting approval that you will be a beneficiary of the relief funds, you will be informed by SMS when your monthly payment has been deposited to your mobile pays account, which Digistore or National Bank branch you were assigned to, and when you can go in to collect. You must bring along the phone that the notification was sent to in order to present your account number and to receive your validation code and SMS receipt. You must also bring along a valid Social Security card. After your information is verified, you will receive a validation code which you are to give to the agent. The agent will hand over the full amount of funds allotted to you for that month, and you will receive an SMS receipt with a unique number for that transaction. Digi and the National Bank of Belize are committed to the development of innovative services for the benefit of all Belizeans.
The vaccine is now available. We here at R&G Life encourage you to take the vaccine. Belize, it's time to roll up our sleeves.
I'm rolling up mine because I know what COVID can do to families.
Because I want to go back to the way things were.
I'm rolling up mine so that I'm able to do music again.
Because I want to protect my family.
Things are slowly getting back to normal. The new normal, which includes getting vaccinated. Take the opportunity to get vaccinated at the R&G Life Wellness Clinic Day on Friday, June 18th. We will also have blood pressure, cholesterol, and other screenings available. Get vaccinated. Roll up for Believe.
Nation, rain or shine, any weather. When we go ball, we go Berger. Quality paint, no faded colors. When we go ball, we go Berger. Let your imagination run free. Any color for this place, when we say ball, that mean it don't peel. Quality in every color, lifetime guarantee. When we go ball, we go Berger. When we go ball, we go Berger. Rain or shine, any color you need. When we go ball, we go Berger.
Three men transporting 7 kilos of cocaine in northern Belize were intercepted by law enforcement on Thursday evening. Police say Cornelius Redicop, John Redicop, and Eric Barrera were in a wild pickup truck on the Little Belize Road when police intercepted the vehicle. 7 parcels of cocaine were found stored inside a bag on the floor behind the passenger seat. The 3 were detained pending charges for possession of controlled drugs with intent to supply to another. It is unclear at this point where they obtained the cocaine or whether these packets may be a part of the lost cargo from a suspected narco plane that crashed off the coast of Placenta 2 weeks ago. Earlier this week, police recovered 3 parcels of the cocaine they believe are linked to that aircraft. A lawman is himself in trouble with the law for illegally transporting over $30,000 worth of fish in northern Belize. Police say Coast Guard officer Daniel Ack and Jamie Lee Cruz approached a checkpoint in Buena Vista Village in a SUV. A search of the vehicle led to the discovery of 320 pounds of base fillet fish, 46 pounds of salmon fillet, and 317 pounds of jumbo shrimp. Police says neither Ack nor Cruz was able to provide any documentation for the goods. As a result, police detained them both and handed them and the seafood over to customs officials. Ack and Cruz will be charged for having uncustomed goods. The detailed submission that Justice Herbert Lord ruled was due from the DPP's office, stating the reason for objection to bail for Jasmine Hartin, was filed today. Attorneys for Hartin are expected to respond to these arguments with full points of their own to be submitted on Monday, and Justice Lord will preside over the bail application and rejection proceedings on Wednesday. Hartin, who is the mother of 2 young children with resort owner Andrew Ashcroft, has remained at the Belize Central Prison since being charged with manslaughter by negligence for the shooting death of career police officer Superintendent Henry Jamot. The 2 were on a pier in San Pedro when she claims she accidentally shot him while handing him his gun. His body was found floating in the sea when police responded to the scene minutes after a shot was heard in the early hours of Friday, May 28th. The two bus operators from Serrano's bus company have been arrested and charged after allegedly assaulting a female conductor in Ladyville earlier this week. On Thursday, Hernan Serrano and Ronald Mejia were slapped with separate charges after being detained Wednesday. Their alleged victim, however, says her injuries warranted stronger charges. News 5's Paul Lopez takes a closer look.
Hernan Serrano of Serrano's bus service and his employee Ronald Mejia both appeared inside the Belize City Magistrate Court on Thursday to be arraigned after a woman from a competing bus company accused them of hitting her and damaging her phone. Earlier this week, we brought you the story of 22-year-old Aliyah Monima, the bus conductor from Los Lagos bus service, who was allegedly attacked at a bus stop in Ladyville village. The attack, as we would later learn, stems from an ongoing rivalry among several bus companies in the area. And while the Department of Transport has launched an investigation into the rivalry which led to the incident, both men were officially arraigned for their alleged actions. Serrano was arraigned for a single count of harm. His employee, Mejia, was arraigned for a single count of damage to property. Throughout the course of the week, Monima has personally been pressing the Ladyville precinct to ensure that the men were arrested and charged. And while she told News 5 that their arrest and arraignment have brought some relief to her, on Monday she said that she felt as if the doctor's diagnosis of her injuries downplays the seriousness of the men's violence.
My face is just hurts and my left arm is swollen and I was bleeding from the mask, but it didn't show anything. And it's sad what happened because two men beat me up like one man, and the police said that just by the medical report they were charging by, which is just harm.
Reporting for News 5, I am Paul Lopez.
Both men were granted bail and are to reappear at a later date. A bill for the expansion of the composition of the Court of Appeal also went before the Senate today. Here's what Senators Sheena Pitts, Michael Perfeet, and Eamon Courtney had to say on that bill at today's sitting of the Senate.
This bill is a bill that is much needed. I wonder if on the other side, apart or in addition to having simultaneous sittings with 6 judges, we can go even further to consider having a full-time Court of Appeal, as is the case in other jurisdictions in the Commonwealth. My only concern, Madam President, is that we invite into our territory on the basis of the best available legal minds.
I guess you could say that the flaw with the laws that existed before was that he said you should have the president on 4. Unfortunately, there was a ceiling, but fortunately, at least there was a floor, 4. When you replace 4 with such, I mean, it's kind of crazy to contemplate, but you wouldn't even want to contemplate it in my view. Couldn't we have a provisor or something to indicate that you will have the president and such others, provided you will have no less than 4, for example? Because the way you read it here when you replace 4 with such is that you could have 10 if you want, but if you put such, then you could also have 1, which is clearly not the intent of the amendment. But I think if you have a provisor to just make sure that you have a minimum in mind, and that you can have such others that can go way beyond that minimum, but not below.
I think we can be confident, first of all, that the bill has a title, and it says to expand the composition of the Court of Appeal, and therefore an interpretation will be in that context that it was intended to expand. With respect to the floor, all I will say is any government that seeks to reduce the number of judges in the Court of Appeal below the current 4, and if the 6 that are appointed below the then 6, they will be the subject of the wrath of the people of Belize and the legal profession, led, I am sure, by Senator Pitts.
After the break, schools will reopen in September despite COVID cases now. But first, here is a look at the latest COVID-19 figures.
This COVID update is brought to you by the Lease Medical Associates. This COVID update was brought to you by the Lease Medical Associates.
Behind every great company is an equally fascinating story of how that business came to be. At Home Protector Insurance, we have one such story. In the early 1970s, Belizean-owned businesses were numbered. Few had what it took to face the challenges. But in 1974, one Belizean man, Norman Moore, faced that challenge head-on. September 4th, 1974, at number 45 Pickstock Street in Belize City, Home Protector Insurance came into existence. With a humble beginning of only 5 employees, Home Protector has blossomed to now having over 50 dedicated staff members and 28 agents countrywide. Through hard work, sacrifice, and determination, Home Protector, a Belizean-owned company, now offers multiple insurance products and has expanded into one of the foremost insurance companies in Belize. Innovation and drive will lead us into tomorrow.
Let the adventure begin with a bottle of Caribbean rum brought to you by Koyo's Distillery Limited.
Smart continues to expand its internet coverage countrywide to help you live a smarter life.
Our villagers are very happy. They are pleased to know that Smart went the extra mile to put a tower in our village so that our villagers can get live stream on their TVs and they can get their kids doing their online classes. I want to say to Smart, thank you for making it possible for us to get internet in Gardenia Village. We really do appreciate it.
SMART continues to take the internet and mobile services to communities across Belize. Now save even more when you bundle your SMART broadband with SMART mobile services. SMART, bringing people together.
As an RFNG agent, it gives me great pleasure to work with a tremendous company. Whenever we need any help, we can count on them to help us. When you sign up with RFNG, it is more than an insurance. It is family. A family that is reliable, that is dependable, that is safe. I am your neighbor. I am your friend. I am your RFNG agent.
Find your nearest RFNG agent on our website at rfginsuranceBelize.com, where it pays to get it right.
Data from the school's managing authorities indicate about 25 to 30% of teachers participated in the strike action over the past month. But those industrial actions came to a screeching halt when the government began docking their pay. Education Minister Francis Fonseca says GOB had no choice.
I don't think the government at all bested the teachers or the unions. This has been a long, difficult period of consultations. And as you know, sung like a scratched record, if you like. Young people might know what the record. But the point is, this is something that the government would never, ever have wanted to do. This has come about because we have absolutely no other option at this time. And as I keep saying, our objective is to keep this period of sacrifice to as short a time as possible. We engaged in absolute good faith with the unions over many months, from February 10th, our first meeting. And at the end of the day, we presented to them what we felt was our best final offer in terms of some compensation, as well as addressing mutually shared and agreed upon concerns that they had about governance and other issues. That was the decision of the cabinet. So we put that into that letter of undertakings. We met with the unions. We clarified issues that arose out of our discussions with the unions on that letter of undertakings. The Prime Minister again wrote to them with another letter of undertaking, letter of clarification. And that really is where we are.
Last week, the unions responded to a letter issued by GOB concerning other compensation for the salary cut coming for teachers and public officers this pay period. The union's response does not sit well with Minister Fonseca, but he says that cabinet is still open to dialogue.
They responded to that, in a manner which I really describe as unprofessional and in my view a very political letter, very personal. I don't think that helps anyone. So the government, the cabinet, is always open to dialogue. As the Minister of Education, of course, I have an absolute obligation and duty to work with the Belize National Teachers Union, and I'm absolutely committed to doing that. I can tell you that throughout this strike period, we have had meetings when, in terms of the ministry personnel and the union, whenever as you know, the Teachers Union sits on many of our boards, the National Council for Education, and whenever we have had these meetings, they have always participated. That continues to be the case. So we are going to continue to work with them, with the unions across the table, the joint unions, in good faith. If there are any other issues that we can work on together to better assist the public service union, the teachers union, then we are prepared to do that. We absolutely, as we have said from the beginning, respect the role of the unions.
The reopening of schools across the country, albeit at the end of the academic year, has been met with enthusiasm from teachers and students alike. Since government announced that in-person learning would resume in April and May, a lot of interest has been generated by stakeholders in the education sector. Earlier today, Minister of Education Francis Fonseca spoke on the resumption of classes as well as the number of schools that have signed up to reopen.
All of our decisions in education have to be based on the advice of our public health officials as it relates to the reopening of schools. We will not do anything that will place at risk the health of our students, our teachers, our administrators, our families. So our advice, our actions, our decisions have always and continue to be based on the advice of our public health experts. So that has allowed us to reopen schools for face-to-face learning in a phased manner, phased approach. We have green-lighted, the Ministry of Education has green-lighted 352 schools to reopen for face-to-face instruction. And we were very, very pleased with the response that we got from our schools, the education community.
As schools plan for their September reopening and others are already in phase reopening, there is a need for supplies to keep the children and staff COVID-free. Today, there was a donation of much-needed materials, and News 5 was there.
157 sanitization stands, along with 98 gallons of liquid hand sanitizers, were donated to the Ministry of Education this morning. The contribution was the result of a collaborative effort between the U.S. government and UNICEF as part of the international COVID-19 response. At a brief handing over today, UNICEF representative in Belize, Alison Parker, explained how the initiative came to be.
UNICEF actually has a 5-year cooperation plan with the government of Belize. So we've been supporting the government of Belize over the last 5 years, and the U.S. government has been an integral part of that incremental support to the government. So this is just one of many initiatives that we have together. But this particular intervention was linked to COVID-19 last year, when we recognized that the schools were closed and that distance learning had to be provided. And at the same time, some of the same families were impacted by Hurricanes Eta and Iota. So the support from the U.S. government came to support those families, ensuring that we can go house to house and deliver some of the most needed humanitarian support to them. And this included the same ECD kits, hygiene kits, as well as some tools for the caregivers, the mothers and the parents to take care of their children.
The United States government, through the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, has since provided $300,000 in grants to UNICEF to combat the spread of the virus through improved hygiene in public schools.
Partway through this project, when the floods happened, they said, hey, can we reprogram some of this money because that's the direct need we see right now? And our answer is, sure, ask us what you need and make that happen. And so we were able to redirect some of that money. So this is the final part of that grant, is to provide these wash stations to schools, to provide some of the equipment and everything, again, to give the tools to the students and the teachers, and then they need to take them up and enforce the protocols so that we can get through this and get back to in-person learning, which is so vital for the development of students.
The distribution and use of the sanitization stands will ensure that children in schools have an additional form of protection from COVID-19 and other diseases. Over 5,000 children in 45 primary schools will benefit from the contribution, particularly from the ECD kits.
What we are doing here today is a part of that process. It's a part of helping us along that journey of reopening schools in a safe and responsible way. We're very, very happy to receive these ECD kits. Early childhood development is a critical priority for the Ministry of Education. It is something that I am very passionate about. As you rightly said, Alison, those formative years are very, very critical. That is where our young students, our young children get the attitudes, develop the attitudes, the values, the skills, that early foundation that will carry them throughout the rest of the education system.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano.
When we return, airlines return, but land visitors barely trickle in. The latest developments in tourism up next, so stay with us.
It's a fact that with Smart, you get truly unlimited everything. Only with Smart, you get unlimited data anytime, while with the other guy, it's only double data on weekends. With unlimited data every day with Smart, there's no need to wait. So, it's a fact that our unlimited plans beat the competition. Stop being measured and told when to use your data and get unlimited talk, text, and data. Experience the true unlimited plans with Smart. That's a fact. Make the switch and live smart.
2020 taught us the importance of being connected to the virtual world, and NextGen is here to keep its commitment to you. Even if you're physically apart, NextGen keeps you digitally connected.
Okay everyone, thank you for following me today.
NextGen provides more than just an internet plan. They provide service plans that support all your online needs. Sign up today and get your NextGen's ultra high-speed internet service. NextGen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
Hola Tony.
Hey Kevin, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué pasa?
Nada, le vine a buscar porque necesito comprar más mercancías de vasos y platos desechables para mi tienda de comestible. Me estoy quedando sin esas cosas.
No hombre, fíjate que desde el 15 de abril no puedo importar nada de eso y se me acaba de terminar todo lo que tenía hace como 3 semanas.
Oye, pero nunca has estado sin esas cosas. ¿Qué está pasando?
Mira esto. Esta es la nueva ley que prohíbe todo el uso de plásticos no reutilizables. Esos son vasos, platos, cucharas, tenedores, todo eso. Desde 15 de abril de este año no he podido importar nada de eso. A partir del 15 de enero del 2021 nadie puede fabricarlo. 15 de abril 2021 nadie lo puede vender. Y a partir del 14 de julio del 2021 si alguien te agarra con eso, te multan.
Híjole, no sabía eso. Necesito cambiar algunas cosas. Les diré a mis clientes por qué esas cosas ya no están disponibles. Gracias, Antonio.
Así es, cuídate.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
Copa Airlines made its first flight back to Belize on Wednesday since the reopening of the international airport. This is an important air carrier returning to Belize since it is the only carrier that connects us directly to Central and South America. Copa will be running one flight to and from Belize weekly on Wednesdays for the next 2 weeks and on Fridays the following week. And while it is just one flight per week, CEO at the Ministry of Tourism, Nicole Solano, told News 5 that this flight can hold up to twice the number of passengers as some other planes.
We're really excited that Copa Airlines returned this week. They came in, their inaugural flight back after COVID was June 2nd. So on Wednesday this week and Wednesday next week, which is the 9th, they'll be arriving and departing from Belize. After next week, Wednesday, they'll be on a Friday schedule. So we're definitely looking forward to those additional seats coming into Belize from Panama. What's very important about that flight through Panama, it connects us with South America. As you know, it's the first flight that we had arriving since COVID or since the airport opened from Central America. And that connects us with not only South America, but a lot of the European traffic as well.
With Copa Airlines back, this means almost all our casual carriers have now resumed service to Belize. Alaska Airlines, the newest plane on the block, has confirmed it will make its first trip to Belize on November 19, 2021, and Southwest should be back soon too.
Currently, we do have all of our traditional carriers. So we have American Airlines, United Airlines, Delta. We are very excited about the arrival of our Alaska Airlines later this year, which is our the new service that will be starting out of Seattle and Los Angeles. And of course, we're in communication with several other airlines, and there is indication as well from Southwest that they will be returning later this year. So we're really excited about those carriers that were coming in pre-COVID and also new opportunity.
It has been 5 days since the reopening of the land borders, and foreign tourists are slowly trickling in. But because these numbers are expected to gradually increase, the Ministry of Health and Wellness has been on the ground monitoring the effectiveness of the protocols in place. CEO at the Ministry of Tourism and Diaspora Relations, Nicole Solano, says amendments have already been made to the protocols based on the first week of reopening.
We actually have on average about 10 tourists per day at both the north and the west. So that is right in line with what we expected. I think I had said that we weren't really expecting a rush on the first week. It will take time to build the traffic over the weeks ahead. Similar to the airport, all of the passengers don't return on the first day or the first week. So it will take time for that traffic to return, but we're very happy with the fact that tourists who've been waiting to come into Belize were able to enter this week.
Do you see any changes that needs to be made after a week, this week's experience?
Yes, actually, we've been monitoring very closely this week to see how everything is working. For the most part, the protocols are working. I know that the Ministry of Health as well has been out there on the ground looking and seeing what they want to adjust. So we're waiting to see from them what advice they have. We actually did already make an update because earlier on it was required for them to have 1 night stay at a Gold Standard Hotel, but we have since required 3 night stay at a Gold Standard Hotel. I also want to clarify Gold Standard Hotel, some of the misconceptions at the borders. Somebody was asking, you know, if a backpacker would actually stay at a Gold Standard Hotel, but I wanted to clarify that Gold Standard is really related to health and safety protocols for COVID. It's not a star rating.
Fortunately, no positive COVID-19 case has been detected at the borders so far. According to CEO Solano, in keeping with proper protocols, however, the border agencies have had to deny entry to some tourists because certain requirements were not met. Solano told News 5 that she remains confident that reopening the land borders to foreign tourists was the right decision.
Most people come in with a test, but the Ministry of Health does reserve the right to test anyone. As a matter of fact, they've just asked us today if we could include in our notice that if we have included there that that the Ministry of Health can test anyone, but they want us to include if they are exhibiting symptoms, they will be required to test at their own expense. So these are some of the little things that we want to update in our communications because we don't want any uncertainties when anyone arrives. So far, we know that a couple of people have been turned back at the border because they didn't meet requirements. So it isn't a significant amount. Most people were able to enter without issue, but I was very pleased to see that the protocols that were put in place were being followed and that people understand if they don't meet the criteria, then they would not be able to enter. At this time, we're very thankful and I'm very pleased to say that so far, there have been no issues with positive cases on arrival. As I said before, the numbers are very low. You asked me previously how long it would take for us to get to a place of pre-COVID. Well, that's very difficult to say, but we don't expect the numbers to increase significantly for another couple of months.
Do you remain confident that the different agencies partnering together, that they are able to handle this border reopening in a responsible and safe manner for all Belizeans?
It's very interesting because I think that the agencies have been very excited and happy to welcome additional travelers coming in at the borders. As you know, it's been quiet for some time, not closed because we've had Belizeans coming in on cargo, and especially in the north, the northern border has been very active with the free zone open. And I am very glad to say that, yes, I feel very confident that it was the right decision.
Just ahead, helping them walk again. World Pediatrics Project helps correct a birth defect without surgery. But first, here is the weather forecast with data from the Belize Met Service.
I was 17 and in love, and I thought he loved me too. But now I know that a loving partner should not take away your choice of clothes you wear or the music you listen to. He should not take away your purse, car keys, or your phone so that when your family calls, you cannot answer. If your partner is controlling you, it is domestic violence. Call 0800 A Way Out or our cell phone number 672-9628. This message is brought to you by the National Women's Commission in collaboration with Miss Universe Belize with funding from the Engender and Spotlight Project.
As police officers, we are expected to continue to carry out our duties, trying our best to uphold and also to enforce the health regulations. The police department has an important role in the overall fight against this pandemic. We have been affected greatly as frontline workers, but now we have a vaccine to help us move forward as a country. I believe in the COVID-19 vaccine. I will take the vaccine when it's my turn. I urge you to take it too. #GetVaccinated_Belize.
It is my time
to protect your life.
Don't wait to vaccinate.
I believe in the COVID-19 vaccine.
Do not hesitate, Belize. Vaccinate. Be COVID-19 safe.
The vaccine is the best way to protect lives.
Don't wait. Vaccinate.
If you care, love them,
protect them,
vaccinate them.
Es un hecho. Únicamente con Smart obtienes todo realmente ilimitado. Solo con Smart obtienes datos ilimitados en cualquier momento. Mientras que con el otro proveedor solo son datos dobles los fines de semana. Con datos ilimitados todos los días no hay necesidad de esperar, así que es un hecho que nuestros planes ilimitados superan a la competencia. Por lo tanto, no permita que le digan cómo y cuándo usar sus datos y obtenga llamadas, mensajes de texto y datos ilimitados. Vive la verdadera experiencia de planes ilimitados con Smart. Es un hecho. Haga el cambio y viva Smart.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Andrea Polanco, Al Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes. Go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, because news is now everywhere, all the time, and so are we.
If you have a way with words or love to do desktop design, then the National Celebrations Commission has a challenge for you, and you might just win $1,000 for your idea. All Belizeans living at home or overseas are eligible. All you have to do is design the winning logo or contribute the best theme for this year's 40th anniversary of the independence and the 223rd anniversary of the Battle of St. George's Caye. The Commission says the winning designs will become the official logo and theme that will be used on all media, both material and digital, and merchandise for this year's celebrations. The guidelines state that themes should be less than 10 words, and yes, you can submit multiple entries. For logos, these must be original work, consist of 3 colors or less, and not include any trademark or copyrighted images. Again, you can submit more than one. The winning entries from each category, logo and theme, will each win $1,000. Submissions can be emailed to nationalcelebrations@nichbelize.org or dropped off at the Government House on Regent Street, the Bliss Center for Performing Arts on Southern Foreshore in Belize City, or at any of the houses of cultures in the districts. The deadline is Friday, June 25th. It is a birth defect that affects more than 200,000 children each year, and on Thursday, countries across the globe recognize World Clubfoot Day. It is a day set aside to celebrate partners who have been working to heal children. In Belize, the World Pediatric Project has an established program to provide preventative care for clubfoot babies, one that rarely involves surgery. News 5's Dwayne Moody put together this story.
In Belize, World Pediatric Project partners with community health workers in a national clubfoot casting program to give Belizean children born with clubfoot an effective non-surgical option for care. This ensures that they can go on to live full and productive lives, free of pain and disability.
Give every child with clubfoot a normal life. We don't want the child to grow up and be in a wheelchair, unable to walk, unable to move around, unable to function as a normal child. It's not any specific thing that causes clubfoot, and that's the thing that we need to explain to parents. It's not your fault, it's not something that you did anything wrong, or it's just something that occurs. And it's important to know that it's likely to happen more in boys than in girls.
There are currently about 4 children in the program, but since it was established over 12 years ago, some 50 persons have received treatment through the program.
World Pediatric Project has an ongoing clubfoot program, and I think that it's important for us to spread awareness about that, because a lot of the times people would think that this is something that cannot be corrected, or it's something that requires a surgery, which is not necessarily so, because we have a 2-phase program, which is the casting and the bracing. We have about 4 kids right now that's doing casting and bracing, so it's free of cost. We coordinate everything for them in terms of the treatment. We fund for the materials. We get all of the materials in, and we also have trained casters in the country that can do the casting.
With COVID-19, the service providers have had to get creative. Program manager Candice Tillett of World Pediatric Project explains the corrective process.
You would see that the child's ankle is like bent in, so that the child is unable to walk. And a lot of the times this can be corrected with just serial casting, which means that the patient would do like about 6 castings every week. The foot is placed into the corrected position little by little every week, and then after the casting, then there's a bracing phase where the child needs to use the braces for at least, I would say, up to 2 years. I would say at least 85% of cases can be corrected by serial casting and effective brace wearing. They have to use the braces for 23 hours a day. They take it off for 1 hour when they're showering, but they have to put it on back.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
And that's the news. Tune in immediately after the news for a special on the inauguration of the new annex for the Holy Redeemer Credit Union. Don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I am Brighton Cott. Thanks for joining us, and from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.